Hello everyone, I am Dr. Beatrice Hippolyte, and this is your world. Today we have a special guest with us, Ambassador Raymond Joseph. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to this program here. And I'm saying greetings to all who are seeing us and listening to us.
Before we go any further, a brief description about Ambassador Joseph. Ambassador Joseph has distinguished himself in a broad range of roles, including theologian, diplomat, writer, professor, and social activist. From 2005 to 2010, he rose to the prominence as Haitian ambassador to the United States. From 1990 to 1991, he was Haiti's chargé d'affaires in Washington, D.C., and Haiti's representative of the Organization of America of States. He signed the first accord with OAS, Secretary General Bernard Soros, for the arrival of unarmed election observer in Haiti that made possible the first democratic elections. From 1964 to 1970, Mr. Joseph served as Secretary General of the Haitian Coalition, a political umbrella group against the Duvalier dictatorship that inaugurated Radio Van, the first shortwave daily radio broadcast from New York against the Duvalier regime. In 1971, he co-founded with his brother Leo Joseph the only newspaper, Haiti Observer, the first commercial and anti-dictatorship Haitian weekly newspaper in New York. He joined the staff on full-time basis in 1984. Mr. Joseph, once again, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. And one thing that our listeners should know, Dr. Beatrice Hippolyte is the one who for quite a few years has been the paginator, the typesetter of the Haiti Observer. So she has done a lot for Haiti also.
Thank you for the acknowledgement. Thank you so much. Ambassador Joseph, Haiti is facing severe crisis with escalating violence, civil instability, and a failing humanitarian situation. The country has been under the state of emergency since March 2024, with crimes involving firearms, robbery, rapes, and kidnapping for a large sum of money. Research indicated that over 42% of Haiti population craving humanitarian assistance, and up to 40% experience acute food insecurity. This is a very, very, very critical moment in the history of the country. Please help understand that situation. Walk us through it.
Listen, you know, the situation in Haiti today has been getting like that for a long, long time. And what Haiti is facing today, and I'm glad the president of Haiti, Edgar Leblanc Fils at the United Nations, had the courage to put his finger on that. Haiti is paying for what our ancestors did, because our ancestors were the ones who first defeated a strong army of Napoleon Bonaparte in the Battle of Vertières on November 18, 1803, to declare Haiti independence on January 1, 1804. The second country to be independent in this hemisphere, second only to the United States of America, who became independent in 1776. Well, they figured that Haiti should not have done what it did, because by becoming independent, by defeating Napoleon's army, we defeated slavery, the first nation, black nation in the world to do that. And the white nation at the time, overlords who controlled the world, the European nations, they declared an embargo on Haiti from the first month of our independence in 1804. By 1825, King Charles X of France will be putting an indemnity on Haiti for what they lost in our country. All the slaves they lost, all the land they lost. So they put a double indemnity on Haiti, the double debt of independence, that the New York Times wrote a whole series
That was added
about
to
it.
the embargo? The indemnity was added to the embargo, or the embargo?
No, embargo is going on, and now the double debt of independence comes in 1825.
Okay.
And we had to be paying the debt of independence for more than a century. We finished paying the last penny in 1947. This is what put Haiti in a situation that it is, and where we could not develop the country, where there would not be work for the young people, and little by little, this came to the point where even our young men don't have anything to do. The best thing they know how to do is to go into kidnapping for ransom. And this has been going on now for quite a while. The kidnapping came in later on. But organized kidnapping came when the Americans brought back to Haiti President Jean-Bertrand Aristide on October 15, 1994, after he spent 2 years in exile in Washington. He came under the protection of 24,000 US troops. And what did he do? On January 6, 1995, he banished the Haitian army. And in place of the Haitian army, the international community with Aristide organized the national police. And together with the national police, President Jean-Bertrand Aristide organized this chimère. The chimère were their little armies.
But Ambassador Raymond, before him to do that, was there any specific reason for, or did he have any personal issue with the army? So why, upon returning back to the country, he decided to destroy the army completely?
Because it was some elements in the army who had a coup d'etat against him on September 30, 1991.
Oh, so by destroying the army was basically some sort of revenge.
It was some sort of revenge. But I myself, I said, you don't come in and throw the whole bag of fruits just because you have 2 or 3 rotten fruits in there. He should have cleared up the army, reformed the army, those bad oranges should have been thrown out, but not the whole bag of fruits. Because by destroying the army, what he did was destroy the best system of intelligence that Haiti had. Because the army had army posts in every city, in every town in Haiti. Besides that, they had what they call the police rural, the rural police. The rural police had the agents out in the countryside. And the police rural was not by itself. They had what they call the chouquette laouzé. The chouquette laouzé, the do shakers, were the agents who woke up early morning and went out to sniff around to find out when anything is going wrong. And then they reported to the police rural. The police rural reported to army headquarters, to the system, and in no time flat, army headquarters know if there is something wrong going on. By destroying the army, he destroyed the whole intelligence network of the country.
And left the country with no defense.
The country has no defense. So I'm just going back to only 2004 when he was brought back. Since then, we have to rely on international armies, on the leadership of the United Nations to come to Haiti to start to give us security. And these foreign armies, I'm quite sure people who are listening to me will remember MINUSTA, the United Nations mission for establishing security in Haiti, MINUSTA. That came in 2004. They stayed until 2013, and the country became more destabilized than ever before. Then the United Nations came in with MINUJUST, in French, MINUJUST. Haitians just ridicule it, they call it mini-jupe. A skirt, a small skirt. And MINUJUST came in to help us with the justice system in the country. They stayed 2 years. And the justice system in Haiti completely destroyed. So they decided they'll come with another foreign army on the BINU. BINU is in French, it's the acronym in French for Bureau Intégré des Nations Unies, the Integrated Office of United Nations in Haiti. And it's on the BINU that the Federation of Gangs came into being with Jimmy Cherizier, who has the nickname Barbecue.
And who was president at that time?
And the president at that time was Jovenel Moïse, and Mrs. Lalim, who was head of BINU, applauded President Jovenel Moïse for facilitating the organization of the gangs on the federation. I'm not making all that. You can check it. It's all in Google. And that federation of gangs today has expanded to what they call Vivre Ensemble. Vivre Ensemble is living together. They put all the gangs around Port-au-Prince area together. So much so that even United Nations writes a report to say that 80% of Port-au-Prince is under the control of gangs. So I'm saying, who really made it possible for all those gangs in Haiti?
That's a good question, and that was gonna be my next question. So, who make it possible? Because those gangs, they have even better firearms or munitions compared to the police force.
Let me tell you something else. In Haiti, we don't manufacture guns.
This I know.
Where are all the guns manufactured? Made in USA. And we don't have a manufacture of ammunitions. Where do the ammunitions come from? The USA. And while the gangs have all
Is
the
there
weapons
any
they
other
need,
places
while the
besides the
gangs have
USA?
ammunition that they have, there is no Haitian army. And when Jovenel Moïse tried to remobilize the army, the Americans say no, no, and they put an embargo on arms to the army. That's what I say myself. And I've said it, I'll give you a date. Since September 20, 2021, I have written in bold letter, published in the paper that we publish, Haiti Observateur, in Creole, which later on I put in English and in French. And I say, tout autant question gang nan pa réglé, rien pa ka réglé en Haïti. As long as the gang issue is not settled, nothing can be settled in Haiti. That was September 8, 2021. And I said that at the time, it was because the gangs had taken over
the country.
The Martissan neighborhood. Martissan is a suburb south of the capital of Port-au-Prince, which is on National Highway number 2, going to 4 departments. The departments are the mini states of Haiti. I said that in 2021. They paid no attention. And now gangs spread out throughout the country. Am I a prophet? I'm no prophet. I just saw what was coming on, and I warned people about it, and they did nothing. And today is the whole world which is talking about the gangs in Haiti. It's the United Nations who's talking about gangs in Haiti. It's now the Kenya, that Kenya country in East Africa, who's sending some policemen, 1,000 policemen to Haiti to help us solve the gang issue.
Ambassador Joseph, before we even go address the Kenya situation, but basically, what's the government? What's the role of the government? What did the government do or plan to do to address that situation? So I understand that we have the Kenyan in the country now. So, but the situation, by itself, it's degenerated like day by day. People are getting killed. People are getting raped. People are being kidnapped. So that even started, not even 2021. I understand that in 2021, so you pointed out for it to be addressed. Even the time that you were an ambassador to Washington, so that situation was still going on in Haiti, but not at this level that we are experiencing it now.
When I was ambassador in Washington, they didn't have gangs running around like that. The gangs that President Aristide organized called the Chimère. When I was called back in Washington, I talked to the Prime Minister and I say, I have a policeman in Brooklyn, Mario Andresol. I think he could help us solve the gang issue that's coming up. And they brought Mario Andresol to Haiti in 2005, and he cleaned up everything.
As the police commissioner. He was the police commissioner at the time.
He was the head of the police, yes. And when they brought him in, the head of the police then, they sent him to Washington. To me, he was there in Washington, and Mario Andresol cleaned that up. But when Michel Martelly, with the support of the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, became president of Haiti in 2011, mind you, he had called himself, self-styled, I didn't give him the name, legal bandit, bandit legal. When this legal bandit came to power in 2011 with support of the United States, he started to organize the bandits again. They are the gangs that we have today. And I've been denouncing that for a long time. Finally, about 2 or 3 months ago, the United States sanctioned Michel Martelly, the former president of Haiti. They sanctioned him for drug trafficking and for his support to gangs. So the governments of Haiti have been involved also in organizing the gangs, because the gangs were supposed to help them hold on to power, perhaps for life, just like the Tonton Macoute helped Duvalier stay in power for life. So I have no qualms. Nobody is going to shut me down to say the international community, the Haitian government, they all are responsible for the gang issue we have in Haiti today.
But you mentioned Ambassador Joseph, the Tonton Macoute. I understand that many referred to them as gangs. But will you say that they were more organized, or, for a better lack of say, so crime, kidnapping, rape, were not at the peak that they are today?
Of course not. Because from the beginning, the gangs were organized by certain groups of politicians, and now the gangs were under the control of this time. Now the gangs are rich enough, they're not under the control of anybody. They're controlling themselves because they make enough money. Mind you, remember how they had kidnapped 17 missionaries? 16 of them were Americans and 1 Canadian. Remember how much money they asked for each one? $1 million. I don't know how much they got, but they kept them for 2 to 3 months until they released them all. And I'm quite sure they didn't release them for nothing. So the gangs don't need overlords anymore because they have enough money from their kidnappings to carry out their business.
But based on what you just mentioned, Ambassador Joseph, if the government is feeding them, if they have the blessing of the government, if they are working along with the government, so there won't be no change, basically.
There won't be any change. And that's the reason why I keep asking for the remobilization of the Haitian army. The national police we have does no match for the gangs.
The gangs have more power than the police.
They're killing the policemen too.
Yeah.
So only an army remobilized and properly armed can face the gangs. Not any foreign army. Because we've shown before, the foreign armies that have been coming to Haiti since 2004, it's under the glare that the gangs have been organized.
Because I remember, like when you say they're killing the police officers, I remember, it was sometime last year or the year before last year where 5 police officers were killed by the gangs,
Yes.
and they hold on to those deceased bodies and refuse to deliver them to the family members to properly bury them. So, but the government didn't say anything.
But the government negotiated with the gangs to have the vehicle, the police vehicle that they had taken as hostage, to release it. But I'm quite sure they must have paid the gangs to release the vehicle.
So it's like, but the main challenges today, the country is facing, what you will say, what that will be, uh, uh, to do to your knowledge and experience. What is the biggest challenges that the country is facing now? So I know the gang is an issue, but to solve that issue, it's also a challenge.
Look, I'm talking now, but I'm a writer. And I write almost every other week about the major issue while I think government of Haiti needs reform. I've written, and I stand behind that. At the bottom of the problem is corruption. Corruption added to corruption is impunity. And what I mean by that, all the money of the government that would come to the government to do things for the country, for the poor people, the big wigs on the government take all that money, put it in the back pocket or put it in banks. And then they sit there and looking at you, they say, if you can, come touch me.
Will you say that in Haiti the law is not being reinforced, or to not to even say that there is no law at all?
There's no law at all. There's no law to be reinforced, because if the law was going to be reinforced, they should make a lesson of the leadership of the country that's corrupt. As long as they do not make a lesson of the leadership, for example, the United States just sanctioned Michel Martelly. But Michel Martelly was a poor guy, a poor musician. In 2011, when he went to Haiti and became president with the support of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Michel Martelly lost about 3 homes in southern Florida because he could not pay the mortgage. Michel Martelly left Haiti after 4 years in power as a multimillionaire, not to see billionaire, because what they call the Caribe Fund, the Petro-Caribe Fund, $4 billion of the Petro-Caribe Fund disappeared under Michel Martelly, president of Haiti. Michel Martelly now is a...
And until today, nobody never seen sign of that money.
No, not only Michel Martelly is millionaire, his son is a multimillionaire too. That's his son. His wife, Sophia Martelly, is multimillionaire. His brother-in-law is a multimillionaire. And I see the United States as a, it's a slap on the hand, where you get sanctioned for trafficking in drug, for gang, as supporting gang. What about the billions of dollars he's stolen? What are we going to do? There should be restitution. And when we are talking about Michel Martelly, we cannot stop there. We have to go back to a president that was supposed to bring democracy to Haiti. I mean, Jean-Jacques Aristide was elected in 1990, December 16, had a coup d'etat against him on September 30, 1991, came to exile in the United States, spent 2 years in the United States as exile, went back to Haiti, and today, I'm not the one who said.
He went back to Haiti. That was under President Bill Clinton, right?
Yes. And today, you guys go check it in Google, and I didn't see that Google is being sued. President Jean-Bertrand Aristide is worth $800 million. Where did they get it? I'm saying corruption, drug trafficking. But I haven't seen him, Jean-Bertrand Aristide, even sanctioned by the United States. Although some of his men, some of the men who were working for him, were not only sanctioned, but the United States went down to Haiti and grabbed them with marshals, brought them to the United States, brought them to before judges, and condemned to how many years? One of them was Jacques Baudouin Quétin, who was the compadre of Aristide because he had baptized Aristide's second daughter. And Jacques Baudouin Quétin was in drug trafficking. But when he came to the United States, arrested and in jail, he talked with the American official and he explained how Aristide himself is the big boss of drug trafficking. I haven't seen anything done against Aristide.
Basically, Ambassador Raymond, so you based on what you just said, the justice system in Haiti, what it is what for?
Forget the justice system in Haiti.
It's sad.
There is no justice system in Haiti. Remember that the United States even came with mini-jus to help the justice system. And the justice system today is completely dysfunctional. This is really a shame. The first black country to become independent in the world, to be in the situation it is today. And I say that was manufactured because we had something, not we ourselves, but our ancestors did something that the white world did not accept. They defeated slavery. Or you defeat slavery, then you're going to pay for it through life.
It is sad to see, like the way the country is really going down the hill now. So a country who used to be called Perle des Antilles, a country who used to export coffee, tobacco, and cotton. So where you used to, a country that used to kind of trade with other big countries. So now, so it's like everybody is talking about that country in a very, 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 very low aspect. So it is sad. So it's that then what your strategy is, what you will propose to address the situation that Haiti is dealing now?
Let me tell you what's happening to Haiti now. It is in French that I think about it. C'est un mal pour un bien. This is the first time it's, perhaps what's happening to Haiti is for good now. Because,
in what way?
I'll tell you why. For the first time, we have a president who stand at the United Nations just last Thursday and tell the whole world what I'm doing here. Haiti is suffering because of the nations, some who were listening to him, France, the United States, for what they've done to Haiti. It's the first time that the president of Colombia, Pedro, just had a big speech while he was in Europe. And he told the world, were it not for Haiti, my country, Colombia, would not be free today. He's saying that after the late President Hugo Chavez of Venezuela made a similar speech before he died. So now I see it being recognized in the world what Haiti did, not only to bring freedom to Haiti, but to help the whole Latin America to become free.
Haiti also fought alongside the U.S. to.
Well, if we come back to the United States, we have to go to 1779, even before the United States became independent, or right after it became independent. And our men fought in Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah.
They were called the chasseurs volontaires. The chasseurs volontaires who worked on the French generals, but they were Haitians, and fought in Savannah, Georgia, for the retreat of the American forces who were fighting against the Empire of Great Britain. Finally, in 2008, they built a statue in Savannah, Georgia, in recognition of what the chasseurs volontaires of Haiti did for the United Nations. So we've been helping the United States a long time. One thing else again, there is an icon of the conservative American Protestant. His name was Pat Robertson. After the earthquake, he was being interviewed on MSNBC.
Which earthquake? Because we have
the 2010 earthquake, 12 January 2010 earthquake. He was being interviewed on MSNBC, in the Rachel Maddow's program. And he said this: the earthquake in Haiti is God's punishment on Haitians for the way they won their independence, because they signed a pact, an agreement, an accord with the devil to win their independence. Too bad for him. I happened to be coming right after him on the same program. And that is still on YouTube. And when Rachel Maddow asked me my first question, I say, before I answer that question, I want to address what I heard here tonight. Some people, I mentioned no name, I said some people don't know the history of their own country. Had they known the history of their own country, they would have known that the pact that Haitians, our ancestors, signed with the devil was responsible for the United States to be the country it is today. Because that pact, as you say, is the one that helped us to defeat the Napoleon's army, and the French lost their capital in the New World. And the capital was in Cap Français, the French Cape, which today is Cap Haïtien. When they lost that, the French had to sell the whole Louisiana territory to the Americans. And the Louisiana territory is not only the state of Louisiana, it's everything west of the Mississippi, all the way to the Rocky Mountains, from the Gulf of Mexico in the south to the border with Canada, representing 15 states today. That's what the pact with the devil did to help America. And we still have not benefited from it, but you Americans have benefited from it. So They've been using Haitians, they've been using the name of Haitians in vain, in calumny. Even now, they're using the names of Haitians, a candidate for the president of the United States, a candidate for vice president. They're using the Haitian name up in Springfield, Ohio. A calumny. It's a calumny. Haitians, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Well, I'm glad that Kamala Harris, who was in debate on September 10 with Donald Trump, when he was saying all these things, started to laugh and then thinking, these guys don't know what they're talking about. And today, in Ohio, that's what I'm saying, it's mal pour bien, it's evil for good. All the bishops of Ohio, Catholic bishops of Ohio, have come to the defense of Haitians and pointing fingers at Trump and J.D. Vance, his vice president. The Association
But
of
it is
Protestants
unfortunate
are doing the same thing.
because all those rhetoric, statement against Haiti, they are just using them for their own political gains, nothing else.
Yeah, but the fact that we are getting people also to take side for the Haitians now, that's why I say, c'est un mal pour un bien. What they're doing against Haitians, bringing people around us. And that made me think of what happened back in 1990.
Yeah.
I don't know whether people listening to me knows what happened on April 20, 1990. That's the day when Haitians made America know the power of the Haitians, because the FDA and the CDC, FDA is the Food and Drug Administration, the CD is the Centers for Disease Control, they forbade Haitians to participate in the blood donor in the country because they said the Haitians were responsible for VIH, for AIDS coming to the United States.
Because at that time, the syndrome used to be called, 4H disease. I think, 1H was for homosexual, another one for heroin addiction, hemophiliacs, and the last one for Haitians.
Well, on April 20, Haitians all over got together. And Haitians didn't know of a religion, whether they're Catholic, whether they're Protestant. In all the churches, Catholic, Protestant, they were speaking against what they were doing against Haitians. And on April 20, 1990, more than 100,000 Haitians and their friends, American friends and other ethnic, crossed the Brooklyn Bridge from Cadman Plaza to downtown Manhattan. And they literally made the Brooklyn Bridge tremble. And what I'm saying here, I'm not doing any propaganda. Just check it on Google. You'll find what the Haitians did on that day. What they did against the FDA, which they call the Federal Discrimination Administration.
So
it's not Food and Drug Administration. CDC, FDA were forced to move back very quickly. Within a month, they took the names of Haitians from the list of the 4-H Club.
Yeah, they basically renamed the disease, call it HIV/AIDS, and SIDA for French.
What did you say?
They basically renamed it. Instead of calling 4H, they call it HIV.
Yeah, they call it HIV. But they also call it AIDS. It's the same thing. But on that day, the way Haitians moved, and very peacefully, but the most major demonstration that America's ever seen, going from Brooklyn, Cadman Plaza, over the Brooklyn Bridge to downtown Manhattan, to go in front of the federal buildings in downtown Manhattan to protest. I'm telling you, that day, they got the lesson. Don't fool around with Haitians.
And
Today, they're doing the same thing again with eating dogs and eating cats. And I'm saying, I even wrote a story in the New York Sun about this. And I said, they are going to get Haitians riled up. And Haitians in a state like Florida, where they have about 350, 400,000 votes, and they use the vote as a block, they're going to show them not to fool around with the Haitians, respect them. Because now we are organizing. So in the election coming up on November 5th, with the Haitians who vote as a bloc in various states, to help Kamala Harris become the first woman president of the United States. And not any woman, but the daughter of immigrants. And not only daughter of immigrants, but daughter of immigrant from Jamaica, immigrant from India. So it's a double whammy, child of immigrants, Afro-Asiatic, the first woman to become president of the United States. I think this is going to happen.
And I really appreciate the fact that you kind of like highlight the power of Haitian people when they want to unite themselves, how much they can do. So how we can use that same power, unite ourselves to solve our own issues, because the country, it's crazy. Everything is upside down. So what we as Haitian, can do to uplift our country, to rebuild our country.
I don't consider myself a prophet, but I may be a preacher. In fact, that's what I studied to begin with, preaching. I was supposed to be a pastor. And these days, I'm preaching to my own people. And I keep emphasizing one thing. Look at the motto on our flag, the motto on our money. It says, l'union fait la force. In unity, there is strength. That's how we won our independence. When various groups of people were fighting here against the French, fighting there against the French, finally got together on May 18, 1803, in a town called Arcaye, north of Port-au-Prince, about 20-25 miles north of Port-au-Prince. And the mulattoes who were fighting the French got together with the black slaves who were fighting the French, and they formed an alliance. And the Jean-Jacques Dessalines, who's our hero of independence, he's our Abraham Lincoln, George Washington of Haiti, tore up the French, the white from the French flag, and put the blue together, and then they would put l'union fait la force. In unity, that was May 18, 1803, 6 months to the day, November 18, 1803, we defeated the strongest army of the time, the army of Napoleon Bonaparte. And then on January 1st, 1804, we had declared independence. So I'm telling Haitians now who are doing their little thing, boy over here, who's resisting over here, get together. That's why I'm working with a group called right now the Coalition of Haitian Organizations. Is Dr. Fayette of Haiti First Class, the television broadcast every Sunday in the New York area, who started this organization. The Coalition of Haitian Organizations. We have to come together and become the force that help us get independence, to become the force to change things in our country. Because if we did it once before against the foreigners who kept us in slavery, we can do it against our own so-called leadership, keeping the country in a slavery-like situation. We can do it. We should do it.
Very important. That is a good point. My next question, Ambassador Joseph, what role can education and job creation play in reducing poverty and instability in the country?
Look, Haiti had a big problem, and that problem was with education. After we defeated the French, the Haitians kept the French language, and everything had to be done in French. I suppose they didn't want to be cut off from the whole world. From the time I was 13 years old, I've been fighting for education to be in the Creole language of Haiti also. And I'm glad that I'm still alive at 93 years old. That's what I started when I was 13, I see happening. The Creole language now is being taught at the university level, not only the United States only, but in Europe, in Germany, even in France. So Creole has gained the what it should have had all along. And now Creole is being used in the education system of Haiti because you learn more in the language of your
native
parents.
Language, yeah.
So I'm glad that this is happening. And when I say I'm glad,
but you have learned, you have learned in French. I've learned in French. By the time I was in Haiti in school, there was no Creole being taught in school.
I know, but right now, they're teaching in Creole in school. And when they're teaching in Creole in school, that means even the peasants in Haiti are being educated. When you were growing up, it was French. When I was growing up, it was French, although I never learned to accept French. Because I'm telling you, by age 13, I was teaching Creole, and my first student was my illiterate mother, who was very smart. But in Haiti, she's from the countryside. They didn't send the girls to school that much. And my mother always said she wanted to read her Bible herself. I said, Mom, may I teach you how to read? She said, how are you going to do it? I'll say, I'll teach you. And in the 1940s, there was a campaign, especially in the southern part of Haiti, started in the Protestant churches, to teach Creole with the low-back method. And with the low-back method, I taught my mother how to read. I taught a lot of adults how to read Creole. And my mother, from reading Creole, I taught her how to read French too. She was able to read her own Bible by herself. And when she went to Guadeloupe, where French is more prevalent with my dad, who was missionary there, she was integrated in the culture without any problem.
Yeah, and I believe, French has always been the bourgeoisie language. And you have like maybe 3/4 of the country, who doesn't really speak Creole, while Creole is the native language of the. So you have people who know how to speak French. They are the one who were fortunate enough to go to school and have a family, where they practice the language at home. So even if for those who didn't have the opportunity to have a family where they practice the language at home, even if they learn French in school, they will not even speak French properly or fluently. So I am for that, and I agree with you that so as the native language, everybody should have not only speak the language but be able to write it and have that language being taught as well in school. That's very important. So it's like, but we're talking about education in general.
Well, but if you start education basic, then you can enlarge it to other parts. Also, if we have a country that is mainly agricultural, we to teach in a school how to make agriculture valuable so that Haiti does not depend on food stuff coming from Dominican Republic. What they reject, that's what they sell it to Haiti. That today, most of Haiti foodstuffs come from abroad. That has to change. It has to change with education. Education that is basic to the country.
But that has become a problem. It was not always like that, Ambassador Raymond. Your time, my time, and maybe my parents' time, Haiti used to cultivate most of its food. So it's been maybe like 10 or 20 years since really things have really degenerated to this level. And it's very important to address it because now you have, like back in the days where all the merchant will come from the countryside to the capital to sell food. But nowadays, so it's like you just mentioned, everything, we purchase from the next door neighbor, which is sad.
And you touch on something here that I have been preaching about. You say people come to the capital. I have said, along with all the things we're doing, we have to have the decentralization of Haiti.
I agree, 100%.
And decentralization of Haiti means that the provinces, the countryside has to be developed. And if they develop with the funds that Port-au-Prince got, we will see the people from the provinces staying there and developing their areas. And Haiti will not find everything concentrated in Port-au-Prince. And where I got the idea better about decentralization of Haiti, it was during the 12th January 2010 earthquake, when I was ambassador of Haiti in Washington. The earthquake hit only 5% of the land mass of Haiti. 5% of the land mass of Haiti around the capital. The damage economically, according to what the economists did, was 80%. And that teach you right there, because everything concentrated in Port-au-Prince. That's why the earthquake did all that damage. So it was then that I said, you know what? I asked my government back then, all the aids we're getting for Haiti from various nations, don't keep it around Port-au-Prince. Go distribute out in the countryside, in the provinces where the people have fled to. If you do that, you'll start keeping the people in those areas. They didn't do that. They kept most of the aids around Port-au-Prince. And so The people who fled Port-au-Prince, when things started to become normal, they come back with their cousins and their brothers back to Port-au-Prince. And right now, there's a program of decentralization going on, but not the decentralization I wanted to see. You know what it is? The gangs are forcing people to leave Port-au-Prince. Yes, the program of decentralization is happening right now.
The gangs are forcing people to leave Port-au-Prince to go not only to the countryside, but to go everywhere.
I know, I know.
To go
But I'm telling you, myself, I was talking about decentralization without gangs, something well thought out by the government. If you put jobs, if you start spending some of the money and not going into your pocket to develop the countryside, to develop the provinces, the people will stay where they came from. So, along with education,
job creation, infrastructure,
education, and everything, decentralization is important for Haiti to move from where it is today.
Yeah, because too many people in the city, and basically, so they're not doing anything. Many people, like in the city now, they were the ones. So, if they had stayed in their countryside, they could have, grow all type of foods and come and sell to the capital like they used to do back in the days. But it is so sad. So now it's like they make the country like it is only Port-au-Prince. Now, when you talk about Haiti, some people think that it's only Port-au-Prince. Haiti is Port-au-Prince. No, we have a lot of countryside. We have Cap-Haïtien, we have Jérémy, we have Jacmel, we have Les Cayes, we have Croix des Bouquets, Akaye. We have a lot of countryside where people could have stayed in their own town and develop their own town. So it's like, and generate money and come to the capital to generate money. But everybody want to live in the city.
Dr. Hippolyte, I back you 100%. Haiti has to be decentralized.
Amen. Okay, so let's quickly go to our next question. So I know you have worked in Haiti in different aspects, and how do you think the international countries should really have put together to help Haiti solve the issue that they are dealing with now?
Again, I'm sorry that I have to take myself as an example. However, back in 2010, when they had the earthquake, I wrote a piece. The reason why I say that, they usually say, les paroles s'en vont, les écritures restent. Words fly away, the writing stays. And these days, words don't fly away, because words are words are also registered. But back in 2010, I wrote a major piece for the Wall Street Journal, where I had worked for 14 years. And they had asked me something about what should we expect after the earthquake of 2010. And I said back then, we should have a program like the Marshall Plan for Haiti. The Marshall Plan was a program that the United States and the countries who fought the Nazis and the fascists together and destroyed most of Europe put up together. And it got the name after the name of the Secretary of State, John Marshall, who came up with the idea that we should put all our resources together and go rebuild Europe. We who destroyed Europe. So today, especially after the speech of the President Leblanc, President Gerard Leblanc fils at the United Nations on the 16th of September, last Thursday. I am throwing it out to the international community. What I wrote back in 2010, they should think about it. A Marshall Plan for Haiti. The resources of Haiti that were taken out of it, the $20 billion according to the New York Times series in 2022 that France took out of Haiti, there should be restitution. The 500 million that the U.S. took, or 500,000 that the U.S. in gold that the U.S. took out of Haiti in December 2014, before they came with their occupation force in July 2015, that they took to Wall Street area for safekeeping, and it's still being safe kept there, so much so that in 2022, it was calculated to be worth $13 billion. Added to the $21 billion of France, they could start a Marshall Plan for Haiti, but not to be given to any government of Haiti headed by official thieves, but to be set up in a board that is Haitian honest people and international members, for them to manage for programs of development for Haiti. That should be done. That's what they should think about. If they do that, we won't have refugees here anymore. Haitians will stay at home and do what they have to do at home. Our young people will not go into gangs because they'll have jobs. Yes, the international community owes a lot to Haiti for what they have taken out of Haiti. And it's not charity, as the president said at the United Nations last Thursday. It's not charity, it's what is owed to us.
I hear you, Ambassador Joseph, but what our role will be into restoring our own country? Because now, so it's like, hey, we have plans. We laid down what the international communities should have done, and we as a nation, how should we step up to restore our own country?
I've told you before, we Haitians, with a justice system that is reformed, should start setting up things by giving a lesson. And those who stole the country's money, they have to be tried publicly. Make a lesson of them. And let others know, if you think you're coming to power just to fill up your pocket and to enrich yourself and enrich your family, you're going to pay the consequences. Unless we have a justice system that deals with the so-called leaders now who have stolen so much from Haiti, our only so-called own leaders, unless we do that, we're not going to get from where we are.
Okay, Ambassador Raymond, in 2015, you came out, that was your first book, or that was your first book?
That was my first book.
Okay, so you came out with this book. The title is For Whom the Dog Spied. Haiti, from the Duvalier dictatorships to the earthquake, for president and beyond. In that book, you mentioned, how rough, it was for the citizen of the country to live under the dictatorship of the Duvalier, both father and son. And you say it was one of the worst times in the country. If you were to compare the Duvalier time to what we are dealing or living today, what would be your answer?
Well, before I answer that, I will to tell the people the title of the books, because people say, you have For Whom the Dogs Spy, the title of the book, Dogs Spy. You know why I have that title? Because Francois Duvalier, the dictator of Haiti, who was so elected in 1957 and right away started his dictatorship, something that could happen in this country too, if they don't watch it. Papa Dog Duvalier used the culture of Haiti, where people believe that dogs can turn into spy. Papa Dog made people think that he used dogs to spy on them. And Papa Dog even made them think that he himself could turn into a dog. Through that kind of thing, when I returned back to Haiti, I left Haiti in 1954. When I returned there in 1959, Papa Doc was in power 2 years after elected, quote unquote, in 1957. People would not talk to me, especially not about politics. And whenever they talk and they see a dog coming, they go like this. And I said to myself, Duvalier controlled this country. Because the people you won't believe, the evening around 6 p.m. that I was speaking to a young man who studied in Spain and had married to a Spanish woman that he brought to Haiti, and a black dog appeared by the pool. I live in the countryside where they had a pool in a big yard. The dog came in. The dogs in Haiti go out free. And he saw the dog, a black dog, and he went like this. He didn't talk to me, he just went like this. Put the finger in front of his mouth. And I understood. And I stopped talking. And when we both watched the dogs go and cross the threshold, he told me, "Vous comprenez pas Isaïe? Do you understand these things?" I said, "What?" He said, "Ça son chien Duvalier te voué sous nous là, oui?" Well, that's a dog that Duvalier sent to listen to us. That night, I had a headache. I said, if this guy, with the education he has, can believe this thing, Duvalier is in control of the whole country. But I was a social anthropologist, studying social anthropology. That's my field, and linguistics. In social anthropology, I was taught not to despise people's beliefs. If you want to take them out of their beliefs, you have to respect them and little by little take them out. So I said to myself, I cannot tell Haitians that dogs don't spy. However, I can convince them that the dogs are no longer spying for Duvalier, the dogs are spying for me. And that's what this book is all about, where I explain what we did with Radio Von Von. Radio Von Von is the radio broadcast we had in New York, beamed to Haiti, that I began with another group of people in 1965, July 1965. And every morning from New York, over Radio New York Worldwide, which was a shortwave radio, I'm giving news to Haiti of what's happening all around, even what's happening inside the palace.
But how will you compare the Duvalier time to the time we are dealing right now in this country, in
From
Haiti?
the time of Duvalier, In the time of Duvalier, there was persecution, there was killing, there was jailing. That's when we lost most of our intellectuals and professionals because they left the country. That's when most of you people before you came to the United States. That's when most of the medical doctors of Haiti came. In New York, most of the French names you saw at the time in the front books were Haitians.
Many of them were killed as well.
In Chicago also, in Montreal, that's when all our intellectuals went to teach in Montreal school, and we lost most of them.
Yeah.
So under Francois Duvalier, there was the exodus, those who could leave before they got killed. There was the Tonton Macoute, the boogeyman. They were organized gangs, but they were official gangs on their leadership. Today, some people are saying, well, under Duvalier it was better. Not for me. Under Duvalier, it was gangs of a different kind. It was official gangs, the Tonton Macoute. Today, we have gangs, and with evolution, gangs have spread, and gangs now in the civilian world, and gangs doing their own thing, not only under government control, but gangs all over getting wealthy for themselves while the people are getting poorer. So, whether it was under Duvalier or whether it's happening right now, I am against it all. And I think since we organize to get Duvalier out, get his son out, we should organize to deal with our current gangs and get Haitians, honest Haitians who love their country, especially Haitians in the diaspora, who really keep that country alive, by the way. You ask me how? Well, we send about $3.8 billion to Haiti every year to our relatives and families there. And it's about 1/3 of GDP. All money spent in the country. It's Haitians abroad who send them. So I'm asking Haitians abroad also to get involved. We have to solve our problems. We cannot depend only on the international community.
Thank you, Ambassador. My last question. I don't know if you have the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So with the violence going on in Haiti now, we have a lot of people, who have developed, like medical issues like diabetes, and mental issues, stress, depression, anxiety. And I know we only have 2 psychiatric hospitals with 23 psychiatrists, to serve 11 million people. So how this issue is being really addressed, to assess people's mental health issues in the country? Is there any international organizations? Is there other people, other organizations, like I said, who try to get involved? Because it's a serious problem. Because while we have the crisis, but the mental health crisis has become a serious crisis into a crisis.
Let me tell you something. I had said before in this talk here, tout autant question gang nan pa réglé, rien pa ka réglé en Haïti. As long as the gang issue is not addressed, nothing is going to be addressed. You know what the gangs have done? They have closed down the hospitals. The gangs they had even closed the airport, international airport. And finally, with help of the boarding army, the police were able to clear the airport. But it's very 2 or 3 hospitals that are operating. There are no hospitals. So you're going to have all kinds of diseases. And you have more than 600,000 families that had to leave Port-au-Prince and go out in the countryside to escape the gangs. So, mental health, I would expect that country is going to go crazy if we don't solve the problem of the gangs. When people cannot eat, when people cannot send the children to school and things like that, it will affect them mental health.
And most
We'll
likely
have a
people,
country of crazy people.
and most likely women are being
So
raped
I
every
said
day.
again, if you don't solve the gang issue, you'll wake up in a country that is worth nothing. And the people will have more mental problem in that country to add to the physical problem, to the hunger, everything like that. So, again, tout autant question gang nan pa regle, rien pa ka regle en Haiti. As long as the gang issue is not settled with, as long as it's not settled, you cannot settle anything in Haiti. You will have all kinds of diseases. You'll have hunger. You'll have the people fleeing right and left if they can. That cannot continue like that.
So my last question, when is the, do you have any idea when is gonna be the next election in Haiti?
Do I have any idea for what?
When we're gonna have the next election?
We have this presidential government in Haiti, which I deridingly talk a presidency with 7 heads and 2 ears, because this presidential council was organized in Jamaica with the help of CARICOM, the Caribbean Common Market, and Anthony Blinken, who's the Secretary of State of the United States. And they set up this presidential commission with 7 heads, 7 presidents. And they're taking turns, president for 6 months and so forth. And they have, of the 7 presidents, who are voting members. And they have 2 others there who are observers. So from the day one, I call it a monster of 7 heads and 2 ears. I said they should have gone with the Constitution of Haiti, which talks about what happens when you don't have a president. You choose a member of the Supreme Court to take over the presidency and organize elections. Now, they have a prime minister who's an able guy. He used to work for the United Nations. And he is the new prime minister in Haiti, who is working with the presidency of 7 heads and 2 ears. And already they're having problems. And the prime minister even said, I don't see how we're going to have elections in 2025 to transfer power on February 7, 2026. How can they? How can you have election in Haiti with gangs all over the place? Unless you're going to have an election that's organized by gangs, where the gangs choose the people to be elected. So I go back again to what I've been pushing all evening to hear. Let's solve the gang issue, and then you can have elections. But as far as having elections right now, with gangs all over the place, forget it.
Wow, that was quite a show. Thank you, Ambassador Raymond, and so for your time. So I know like you came from very far to make it to the show today, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And for those of you who are listening or watching, so it's like if you want to know more about Haiti, because Dr. Ambassador Raymond really has a lot of information about Haiti in his book
Can I
titled
say something
For
about that?
Whom the Dog Spy.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
If some of you would like an autograph copy of For Whom the Dogs Spy, okay, send me an email to raljo31@yahoo.com. R for Robert, A for Apple, L for Love, J for Joseph or John, O for Opera, raljo31@yahoo.com. And then I'll explain to you how you can get an autographed copy of For Whom the Dogs Spy. We'll discuss the payment. Don't go buy it on Amazon. If you want to go buy it on Amazon, you can go on Amazon. But if you buy on Amazon, it will not be autographed.
Of that said, I'll let you go. See you next time. It was with you, Dr. Beatrice Hippolyte, with your war.